Write your name 7 times of this way, and money will appear in 24 hours. There is a mystery hidden in plain sight, a secret so simple that the reasoning mind will laugh at it, yet those who dare to practice it will see the miraculous unfold before their very eyes. Your name is not just a label, it is the vibration of your identity, the signature of your soul written into the fabric of eternity. When you write your name with deliberate intention, you are not simply marking letters on paper. You are impressing your essence upon the invisible field that shapes your reality. And when you do this 7 times, you seal a covenant with the unseen, for 7 is the number of completion, the number by which all cycles come into fulfillment. If you will but take this act seriously, with imagination alive and faith burning quietly within, you will witness a shift so rapid that money will be drawn to you within 24 hours, not by chance but by law. This is not superstition nor empty ritual, but the conscious use of the divine principle that answers to faith and responds to conviction. The name as identity unlocking the hidden power within your name is not a random word nor a sound uttered for convenience. It is the very vibration of your being, the stamp of your existence, the echo of your essence carried into form. When you hear your name, something stirs deep inside, for it is the bridge between your invisible identity and your visible experience, the thread that ties the inner man with the outer world. To most people, their name is just a label, but to the one who understands, it is a key, a living symbol that carries the authority of the self. When you write your name with intention, you are not merely repeating letters with ink. You are declaring to the unseen forces that shape life, this is who I am, and this is what belongs to me. Writing your name becomes an act of faith, an act of alignment, an act of creation, because the written name holds the same creative energy as the spoken word. In the beginning, everything was called into being by word. Word shapes, word forms, and word creates. Your name is the word that contains your personal essence, the individualized vibration of the infinite expressed as you. When you take pen to paper and write your name deliberately, you are not asking for money, you are declaring money is already yours. Because money belongs to identity, and wealth responds to the authority of one who knows who they are. To write your name 7 times is to call forth the hidden treasure of your being, to remind yourself and the unseen law that the source of supply is not outside you, but within your own consciousness. The one who is poor may write his name, and with faith align himself with wealth. And in 24 hours doors will open, channels will shift, opportunities will appear, because the world must respond to the vibration of identity once it is impressed upon the law of life. The world only mirrors what you have claimed as yours, and your name is the claim, your name is the seal, your name is the command. Do not think lightly of this, for most drift through life unconscious of the power hidden in their very own name. The secret is not in the letters, but in the energy, conviction, and the belief with which you write them. The act is mystical because you are not simply seeing ink-form shapes. You are feeling wealth as you declare yourself to be the wealthy one. Your name becomes a decree. It is as if you are saying, I am, and because I am, abundance flows to me. The moment you see your name written, do not look at it as the old you, the one who struggled and doubted, but as the renewed self, the one clothed in prosperity and favor. Feel that the name you write belongs to a person who cannot lack, who cannot be poor, who cannot be denied, for the one bearing this name is already chosen, already blessed, already provided for. 7 times you write it, and 7 times you impress the truth upon the invisible law that governs manifestation. This is no different than a king sealing his decree with a stamp 7 times. It is final, it is settled. It is done. When you do this, money begins to take shape, and it will not delay, for it must appear within 24 hours. Do not be surprised when it comes in unexpected ways. It may arrive as an opportunity, a gift, a favor, a sale, a payment long overdue, or sudden recognition that leads to financial flow. The form does not matter, the law does. Your role is not to figure out how, but to know that by writing your name, you have aligned yourself with the infinite supply. Money comes because money is simply energy clothed in form, and your name, when written in faith, commands that energy to materialize in your life. Understand that identity is always the root of experience. A man may labor endlessly, but if his inner identity is still one of lack, his work will not bring him the riches he desires. Yet another may do very little outwardly, but align inwardly with abundance. And wealth will be drawn to him because identity is the magnet, not effort alone. When you write your name with full belief, you are declaring a new identity. You are saying to the law of consciousness, this is the wealthy me, this is the prosperous me, this is the abundant me. And the law cannot deny identity, it only reflects it. The poor man calls himself poor, and life mirrors his confession. The rich man calls himself rich, and life bows to his decree. You may think writing your name is a small act, but in the unseen it is monumental, because it is not the act but the consciousness behind the act that creates the result. It is the feeling you pour into it that makes it alive. If you write your name with doubt, it is only letters. But if you write it with faith, it becomes a living decree written into the eternal record of the unseen. 7 times seals it, because 7 is the number of divine order and perfection, the signature of completion, the full circle of creation. By 7 you declare that nothing more needs to be added. It is finished, and money must now appear. Within 24 hours you will have proof. This proof will come because the law of life is faithful to respond to faith. Some will scoff, others will laugh, but those who dare will see, and those who believe will receive. Your name is not weak, it is not empty, it is not powerless. It is the most personal, most intimate key to unlocking the flow of life, for it carries within it your identity, and identity is destiny. Write it 7 times, not mechanically, but with conviction, and watch as the unseen responds, shaping circumstances, bending time, moving people, and rearranging events, until money is placed into your hands. This is the power hidden in what looks small. This is the mystery of the name as identity. The moment you grasp it, you will no longer see your name as ordinary, for you will know it is sacred, it is a decree, it is the word made flesh. And each time you write it, you are reminding yourself that wealth is not coming. Wealth is already here, for one who bears this name is already rich, already blessed, already complete. 7 as completion, the sacred seal of manifestation, the number 7 has echoed through the corridors of history, whispered in sacred texts, and carved into the very order of creation, for it is the number of divine completion, the seal of fulfillment, the sign that a thing has reached its appointed end. When you write your name 7 times, you are not choosing an arbitrary number. You are aligning yourself with the rhythm of perfection, the same rhythm by which the world was framed, and by which the invisible becomes visible. Look around you. Creation itself tells the story of 7. In 7 days the cycle of creation was declared complete, not because time demanded it, but because the law of life recognizes 7 as the mark of wholeness. There are 7 notes in the musical scale, 7 colors in rainbow, 7 continents, 7 seas, 7 openings in the human face through which perception flows. 7 is everywhere because 7 is the signature of fullness, and fullness is the signal that nothing more need be added, that manifestation is sealed, finished, and ready to appear. When you write your name 7 times, you are stamping your declaration of wealth into the eternal order of the universe, saying, it is complete, it is sealed, it is finished. 1 repetition might affirm, 3 repetitions might strengthen, but 7 closes the circle. 7 says, there is no going back, no wavering, no doubt, this is settled. And when something is settled in consciousness, it must materialize in the outer world, for the outer is only the shadow cast by the inner decree. Do not think of 7 as superstition. Think of it as alignment with the very geometry of creation. Just as the rainbow cannot show its beauty without its 7-fold colors, so too can your declaration not shine forth without the 7-fold seal of completion. When you take your pen and write your name once, it is like a spark. Twice it becomes a flame. 3 times it begins to gather strength. But by the 7th, it is a blazing fire, impossible to extinguish, impossible to ignore, impossible not to attract. The universe itself responds to 7 because 7 is the signal that intention has matured into certainty. If you were to plant a seed and water it once, it might not be enough. Water it thrice, and growth may begin. But by the 7th watering, the seed has no choice but to burst through the soil, for the law has been fulfilled. In the same way, when you write your name 7 times with faith, the law has no choice but to respond, and money must appear, for the decree is sealed in divine order, and notice that the promise is not someday, or perhaps, or in due time, but within 24 hours, because once the circle of 7 is complete, the seed of manifestation cannot remain hidden. It must break forth into form. The rhythm of 7 is also the rhythm of rest. In the ancient pattern, 6 days were for creation, but the 7th was rest, not because nothing was happening, but because everything was already finished. When you write your name 7 times, you too enter that rest. You no longer strive, no longer beg, no longer wonder how, for you know it is done. You rest in the assurance that money is already finding its way to you. The 7th writing is the release, the surrender, the letting go into trust, and in that release the miracle appears. The one who stops at 6 has not sealed the circle, has left the door open to doubt. But the one who completes 7 has shut the door and thrown away the key, saying, "It is mine now, nothing can stop it, nothing can delay it, nothing can deny it." This is why 7 is so powerful. It is not repetition for repetition's sake. It is the mystical signature of completion, the full cycle that ensures fulfillment. Consider also that the body itself responds to the rhythm of 7. Every 7 years, the cells of your body are renewed. Cycles of growth and change unfold in patterns of 7. Consciousness itself seems to move in 7s, stepping stones of completion that lead to greater awakening. To use 7 is to work with the grain of the universe, not against it. When you write your name 7 times, you are not fighting for money, you are cooperating with the divine pattern that guarantees manifestation. And within 24 hours you will see the evidence, because what has been completed inwardly must reveal itself outwardly. Do not ask how. The how belongs to the unseen law. Your role is only to seal the decree by 7 and rest. Perhaps money will arrive in the form of an unexpected refund, a sudden opportunity, a chance encounter, a forgotten debt repaid, or a gift from a surprising source. The form is unimportant. The arrival is inevitable, because 7 has declared it finished. Think of the world as clay and your consciousness as the potter. If you shape the clay halfway and stop, the vessel is incomplete. But once the 7th shaping is done, the vessel is ready to be fired, ready to be used, ready to be filled. So too with your decrease. Heaven shapes it until it is a finished vessel, and money becomes the substance poured into it. The skeptic may dismiss this as foolishness, but the one who practices with faith will find proof. For this is not superstition of numbers, but the mystical pattern of completion that undergirds all life. To align with 7 is to move with the flow of creation itself. Your name is the decree, but 7 is the seal. Together they form the key to unlock immediate supply. Write it 7 times and know that you are no longer waiting for wealth. You are already wealthy, and the world must now catch up to your inner conviction. 7 folds the invisible into the visible. 7 closes the circle. 7 declares the work done. And the moment you feel the seal of completion, you will rest in quiet certainty, knowing that within 24 hours money must appear, not as wishful thinking, but as law fulfilled. Imagination as substance, the hidden reality behind wealth. Everything you see in this world, every coin, every bill, every bank, every building, every empire of wealth, began first as imagination. Before it appeared in form, it was conceived in the unseen, shaped by thought, nourished by feeling, and called into being by the creative act of consciousness. Imagination is not fantasy, it is substance. It is the raw material from which all things are made. What you imagine with conviction becomes what you live, for imagination is not weak play, but the very power of creation. The reason writing your name with intention draws money is because it stirs imagination, and imagination is the womb of reality. The moment you write, you do more than form letters. You form images, you stir feelings, you awaken the creative law. If you can see yourself as prosperous within, wealth cannot help but appear without, for the outer world is always the mirror of the inner image. Many fail in their pursuit of money because they labor with their hands but neglect the greater work of imagination. They believe effort alone creates, yet effort without imagination is like planting without seed. Imagination is the seed, effort is the soil. Without the seed, the soil produces nothing. But with the seed, even the smallest effort can produce great harvest. When you write your name 7 times with the conviction that you are already wealthy, you plant the seed of prosperity in the rich soil of imagination, and because imagination is substance, the seed must grow into tangible form. It is not the ink that creates, but the inner image that rises as you see your name on paper, and feel it belongs to a wealthy self. That image is alive, that feeling is real, that vibration sends its decree into the unseen, and the unseen rushes to give it form. The mistake many make is to imagine weakly, to imagine doubtfully, to imagine as though they are playing a game. But when you imagine as reality, when you see and feel within as though it is already yours, imagination becomes the power that no circumstance can resist. Money is not created by labor alone, nor by logic, nor by chance. It is created by imagination, for imagination shapes the currents of opportunity, directs the flow of people and events, and calls into existence the channels through which wealth arrives. When you write your name, see not the old self who struggled, but the new self clothed in abundance. Imagine as though your bank is already filled, your debts already cleared, your life already flourishing, and let that image be real to you. If you can sustain that image, the world must conform, for imagination is substance. The bills in your hand are nothing but paper colored by ink, but the imagination that gives them value is eternal. You cannot see imagination with your eyes, but you live in its fruits every moment of your life. Your house was once in someone's imagination, your clothes, your devices, your money. All were imagined before they were made. So too must your wealth begin in imagination, and the act of writing your name 7 times seals it into consciousness, awakening the image of yourself as one who already possesses wealth. If you see this truth, you will never again struggle outwardly without first imagining inwardly. You will know that imagination is not idle daydreaming, but the very essence of reality. What you imagine with persistence becomes inevitable. The poor imagine poverty even while they labor for wealth, and their poverty persists. The rich imagine wealth even when they begin with nothing, and their wealth grows. It is not chance, it is law. Imagination is substance, and substance always becomes form. When you write your name, pause to see it not as the name of who you were, but of who you are becoming. Feel into it. Imagine money already flowing, doors already opening, opportunities already at hand. Picture yourself receiving, picture yourself rejoicing, picture yourself living in the abundance you desire, and as you do, the unseen responds. The world cannot resist a sustained inner image. It must bend to its shape. The act of writing is simply a tool to focus imagination, to make the invisible more vivid, to impress upon the subconscious the image of wealth tied to your name. By the 7th writing, the image hath taken root, and within 24 hours some proof must appear, because the substance of imagination has already begun to press into form. Do not concern yourself with how it will come. Imagination decides the form. Your only task is to imagine vividly, faithfully, consistently, as though it were already so. Many sabotage their own wealth by imagining lack, imagining bills unpaid, imagining loss, imagining rejection. The law does not judge, it only creates from what you imagine. If you imagine lack, lack appears. If you imagine wealth, wealth appears. The pen in your hand is but the instrument. The imagination in your heart is the true creator. When you marry the two, writing as a conscious act and imagining as substance, you awaken the law of manifestation, and money comes swiftly, naturally, faithfully, for it must obey. Within 24 hours you will see it, because imagination does not delay when it is believed. What you write, you imagine. What you imagine, you feel. What you feel, you become. What you become, the world must reflect. This is why writing your name 7 times is so powerful. It is a deliberate act that anchors imagination into the physical. Bridging the unseen with the seen, it transforms imagination from fleeting thought to embodied decree, and once imagination is embodied, the outer must conform. Know this truth: you are never poor unless you imagine yourself poor, and you are never rich until you imagine yourself rich. Writing your name is the doorway to shifting that inner image. 7 times you walk through, and on the other side stands the wealthy self, the abundant self, the prosperous self. That self is real, for imagination is substance, and substance always becomes flesh. To ignore imagination is to ignore the root of creation. To master imagination is to master life itself. Write your name 7 times, imagine vividly, feel deeply, and rest in the assurance that within 24 hours wealth will appear. not as a miracle from outside, but as the inevitable fruit of imagination within. The 24-hour manifestation principle bending time through faith time is not the rigid master most people believe it to be. It is the servant of consciousness, the mirror of belief, the unfolding of what you have already accepted as true within yourself. To the ordinary mind, time is measured by hours, days, and years, but to the awakened soul, time is elastic, responsive, and subject to the decree of faith. This is why when you write your name 7 times with conviction, you are not only declaring wealth, you are commanding time itself to deliver it within 24 hours. The skeptic asks, how can money come so quickly? But the one who knows understands that the question is not how but who. Who are you within? Who have you declared yourself to be? If within you stand as the wealthy one, time must bend, events must align, doors must swing open, and people must be moved to bring to you the evidence of what you already are. The 24 hours is not a limit imposed on God or the universe. It is a boundary set by your faith, a decree of immediacy that says, I no longer wait for what is mine, I receive it now. When you say tomorrow, tomorrow comes. When you say someday, someday never arrives. But when you say within 24 hours, you have drawn the invisible into a point of immediacy, and the law cannot resist. For the unseen responds not to begging, nor to hesitation, but to boldness of faith. The act of writing your name 7 times is not simply ritual. It is the act of fixing identity, of declaring that you are the one for whom wealth must appear now, not later, not eventually, but within this very day. Consider that every great manifestation in history has been born out of the collapsing of time. What others thought would take years was accomplished in moments, because someone dared to believe it could be done now. When you set the decree of 24 hours, you are daring to believe that time itself will bow to your faith, and indeed it does, for time is not power. Consciousness is power, and time is its servant. Those who wait endlessly are those who never dared to decree. Those who receive swiftly are those who bound their faith with a time frame, not because the universe needs time, but because the human mind does. The mind, when given a clear frame, anchors itself, holds to the vision, and refuses to drift. 24 hours becomes the container of faith, and within that container wealth must appear. Do not underestimate the law of immediacy, for it is the essence of manifestation. The one who says, I will one day be rich, dies in poverty, for one day is always tomorrow. But the one who says, I am rich now, and I will see proof within this day, stirs the unseen into immediate action. The world rushes to deliver, for the decree has been made. When you write your name 7 times, you are not only sealing identity, you are binding time to obedience. You are saying to the law, I believe not in delay, but in immediacy, and faith always receives in the measure it dares to claim. If you claim years, years will pass. If you claim months, months will pass. If you claim hours, hours will pass. And within those hours the evidence will come. The law is no respecter of persons, it only mirrors belief. So why not believe in speed? Why not believe in immediacy? Why not believe that within 24 hours money can flow into your life? The channels are endless, the sources are infinite, the means are without limit, for the law is not bound by scarcity. Money may appear as a gift, as an opportunity, as a refund, as a sudden client, as a sale, as an open door, as unexpected favor. The form does not matter, the decree does. The form is the shadow, the decree is the cause. You need not strain, you need not force, you need not labor harder. You need only believe that the decree of 24 hours will not return void. This is the essence of bending time, faith so bold that it refuses to delay what is already finished. Remember, when the great pattern of creation was declared finished, it was not because more time was needed, but because completion is not about time. It is about consciousness. Once consciousness accepts, manifestation is complete, and time only reveals what was already done. So when you write your name 7 times, you are completing the act within. The outer 24 hours is merely the unfolding of what you already finished in the inner. Do not look at the clock with worry. Look at it with confidence, knowing that every hour is conspiring to bring you proof. Time is not against you. It is working for you, carrying the unseen into the seen. Within the span of one day, what looked impossible can suddenly appear. It is not a matter of luck, but of law, for faith collapses delay, and identity commands immediacy. To the doubter, 24 hours is too short. To the believer, 24 hours is more than enough, because once you declare it finished within, the outer must obey. Money is only energy, and energy flows where belief directs it. If belief directs it into delays. If belief directs it into immediacy, it arrives swiftly. Therefore, do not hesitate to set the decree of 24 hours, for by doing so you have declared that you are no longer waiting for life. You are commanding life to reveal what you already are. And when the money arrives, you will see it was never chance, never luck, never coincidence, but the outworking of the 24-hour manifestation principle, the bending of time by faith, the sealing of identity, the decree of immediacy, for time itself is powerless before one who knows they are already rich. Faith beyond logic, the key that unlocks immediate supply. Logic will tell you that money comes only by work, by time, by effort, by connections, by long years of building and waiting, but faith whispers another truth. Money comes by belief, by conviction, by the unseen law that answers to your inner decree. Faith and logic live in different worlds. Logic is bound by appearances, by what can be measured, counted, and reasoned, but faith is bound by nothing, for faith sees the invisible, touches the untouchable, and calls into being what does not yet appear. When you write your name 7 times, it is not logic that makes money come, it is faith. The rational mind says, how can writing a name bring wealth? How can paper and ink change my circumstances? But faith knows that the act is not about ink or paper, but about the consciousness it awakens, the certainty it impresses upon the law of life. The logical man scoffs, but the faithful man receives, for the law does not answer logic, it answers faith. Every miracle in history was born by faith. Beyond logic, the sea does not part by logic, bread does not multiply by logic, the blind do not see by logic, and the poor do not become rich overnight by logic. Yet all these things happen by faith. Faith does not ask how. Faith only declares it is so. And because it is so within, it must become so without. Writing your name 7 times is an act of faith beyond logic. It is saying to the law, I believe in what I do not yet see, and because I believe, I will see it within 24 hours. Faith is the boldness to call yourself rich when you appear poor, to declare money is yours when your pockets are empty, to rejoice in abundance when circumstances scream lack. Faith is not waiting for evidence. Faith is creating evidence by belief. Logic will tell you it is foolish, but faith will prove it is true. When you write your name and feel yourself wealthy, logic may resist, whispering, this is only your imagination. But faith answers, my imagination is reality, my feeling is law, and the world must conform to it. Faith is the hand that pulls the unseen into the seen. Without faith, your writing is mechanical, empty, powerless. With faith, your writing is decree, command, creation. Faith transforms letters into living law, and the unseen rushes to obey. Faith does not need permission from reason, nor approval from logic, nor agreement from circumstances. Faith is its own law, its own authority, its own power. If you believe, truly believe, that writing your name seals your wealth, then nothing in heaven or earth can stop it from appearing, and it will appear swiftly, within the very hours you declare. Faith is the unseen currency of the universe, and the one who spends it never lacks. Logic counts dollars, faith creates them. Logic worries about the channel, faith knows the source. Logic fears scarcity, faith sees abundance everywhere. Logic waits for proof, faith creates proof. To live by faith is to live above the chains of reason, for reason is limited, but faith is infinite. When you write your name 7 times, you must do it with this kind of faith, the kind that does not tremble, the kind that does not waver, the kind that does not beg but commands. Faith does not say, I hope. Faith says, it is done, and the world, being only the shadow of your inner state, must reflect it. Do not concern yourself with whether it makes sense. Concern yourself only with whether you believe, for it is not the clever, nor the rational, nor the doubters who inherit abundance. It is the faithful. The wealthiest are not those who figured out the perfect logic, but those who dared to believe beyond reason. Faith is not weakness, it is the greatest strength, for it bends reality to your decree. Imagine a poor man who writes his name with faith, feeling himself rich, declaring his abundance 7 times, and within a day, money arrives through unexpected channels. Logic would have said it was impossible, yet faith made it inevitable. This is the secret hidden from those who worship reason. Life responds not to calculation but to conviction. If you are waiting until logic agrees, you will wait forever. But if you dare to step into faith, you will see manifestation at once. When you write your name, do not reason, do not analyze, do not question, feel, believe, declare. Let faith speak louder than doubt, and watch as the invisible becomes visible. Faith is the bridge between your written decree and the money that appears. Without it, words are dead. With it, the words are alive. Faith transforms ritual into power, action into manifestation, hope into reality. This is why writing your name 7 times works. Not because of superstition, not because of chance, but because faith has clothed the act with life, and life must respond. Faith is not concerned with how much you have now, but with who you declare yourself to be. And if you declare by faith that you are rich, you will see riches appear, because faith always fulfills itself. It is written that faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. Substance means reality. Faith makes the invisible real. Evidence means proof. Faith produces the result. So when you write your name, you are not practicing a childish game. You are practicing the law of faith beyond logic. You are training yourself to believe in the unseen, and the unseen rewards you openly. Within 24 hours the evidence must appear because faith has decreed it. Do not waver, do not doubt, do not let logic steal your miracle. Simply believe and you will see. For faith beyond logic is the true key that unlocks immediate supply, and with it nothing shall be impossible to you.